It's another week in the For Your Reference household, and it is another jammed pack, back-to-back Ref Max, OT. Very exciting. Thank you to all of the PR and all of the contacts for inviting us to screenings as well as screeners. We're very excited to talk about, we have 7 on the bill today, OT.
Oh, 7.
Yeah, some are already out, some are on their way. We're very excited, friends and lovers. Grab a beverage, grab a snack. It's definitely going to get nasty. So I guess put a towel down.
Wow.
And let's get on with the show. Ho, friends and lovers, welcome back to the For Your Reference podcast. You got your host, Katie.
And OT.
Welcome to Reference Max, where in this episode, we will be covering Succession Season 4, Episode 1, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Better, Gotham Knights, our hero correspondent OT, Superman and Lois exclusively, Shazam 2, I guess I can also comment on that. And also the West End filmed Life of Pi. Theater. Very, very exciting. Thank you, friends and lovers, for joining us another week in the For Your Reference household. I do love my spoiler tags, but the great nature of Ref Max is we're not going to spoil anything.
No spoilage.
And I think that's great, and it definitely kicks off. Friends and lovers, if you were joining us in a linear fashion, you were days away from watching the first episode of the 4th and final season of Succession.
Good thing we live in a non-linear timeline.
Yeehaw! I'll be 10D-Way and you be everyone else in Westworld.
I'll take that.
Okay, well, friends and lovers, if you are all aware, if you have joined us in our delicious, sumptuous podcast journey, you will know that we have covered all seasons of Succession thus far. I'm pretty sure we binged the first 2 seasons when we watched it for the first time. We watched the 3rd season and we were very excited. Thank you to Charlotte and the team at Binge for, and also HBO, and also Jesse Armstrong, for gaining us access to the first episode of season 4. This is such a great time.
It sure is.
We are also the ambassadors of allowing people to enjoy stuff. You know, a lot of times, even when we're covering things, I always say, we're always going to be here for you, baby. So you don't need to listen to something you haven't watched, right? So we're definitely not going to spoil it. But I would love to hear just generally what your thoughts were, or I guess more what your experience was in watching the first episode.
Excited. I was pumped, especially after how season 3 ended.
Yes.
I was ready, and it did not disappoint one bit.
Oh, absolutely, you know. And this is why, you know, with the stacked cast and crew that we have, with the writers as well as Jesse Armstrong, and also the brilliant performances, Daddy Brian Cox, I've made it very clear, especially talking about Armageddon Time, that I have a lot of love and a lot of time for Jeremy Strong. Sarah Snook, the predestination of it all. Obviously, always in my heart chambers, Kieran Culkin, but as OT would say, Mr. Coughlin, if you're nasty. As well as Alan Ruck. Like, this show really just brings something that the television game was missing, man.
Yeah, its quality speaks for itself. And the fact that it's in its last season.
Oh,
you know,
I guess because we're not going to talk about specific plot points, there's not a lot that I get upset about, because I think we very much agree, even though Sherlock kind of left us a bit too early. How did you feel knowing that this was going to be the last season? Because I wasn't ready. I talk a lot about saying that, oh, you know, it should end before, you know, before we don't want it anymore. But I wasn't prepared for this announcement.
No, I was ready. Like, when a creator comes out and says that this is the last season, then you know that they felt that they've pushed it to where it needs to be.
Yep.
Better leave it when you're on a high than linger on. Lost. And then, and then everyone just gets upset and angered over all that.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Live on a high, and Succession will be remembered as one of the best things out there.
You got any more coughs for shows that might have gone too long, or?
No.
Oh, they're going to say Grey's Anatomy or something.
It has an audience.
So did Lost.
16 seasons plus. Bruh.
I guess so. You
can't knock that. That's a...
I guess something that I do want to say just generally about the first episode, there's obviously a lot of love and a lot of care for the characters. We talk about that a lot. Like, take us wherever you want in this world, but just care about the fucking characters, right?
Yeah.
Snowfall.
Wow, you're coming out early, guns blazing.
And I guess the reason why I'm saying that is because, we love TV and film, but we also know that we don't write TV and film. So it's nice to be able to put our little hearts in the hands of the creators and just let it go where it wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only other thing to say is meet us in the DMs, friends and lovers, the moment you finish watching the first episode. We're very excited. Okay, well, now that we're all settled and steeped in some quality, let's continue on. The Oscars went past OT and you didn't slap anyone.
Yeah.
At least maybe as a vigilante in the shadows. But as far as I know, you haven't slapped anyone.
Yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Any sort of general thoughts of the Oscars at all?
Not really. I think, I don't know. I felt like this year's just had a lackluster feel to it.
Uh-huh.
All the movies that won or nominated weren't exactly my favorite things that I'd watched the past year.
Yep.
So, to each their own.
Yeah, fair enough. I get that. There were a couple of titles that we did watch. There are some titles we didn't watch. Thanks to Liv and the team at Mad Men Entertainment for giving us a screener for All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. That was nominated for documentary.
Oh.
At the Oscars. So I watched it. It was very, very interesting. So I guess to catch you up to speed, friends and lovers, as well as OT, All the Beauty and All the Bloodshed, it essentially encaptures the life, the legacy, the art, and the activism of Nan Goldin. So, she came up at a time that, exhibitions in regards to like photography wasn't necessarily being used as the actual sort of exhibition. And she definitely met some resistance, and it feels weird to say interesting when you talk about someone's actual life, but she definitely had an interesting sort of life story. And especially the family and the chosen family that she found along the way as well. Most recently, I guess if you watch The Last Week Tonight and John Oliver's of them all, or you might even just be familiar with the Sackler family, who are essentially the pioneers of the opioid crisis. Incentivizing, paper pushing prescriptions, that sort of thing. So I didn't necessarily, were you aware of Nan Goldin at all?
No.
The Sackler family?
Sackler I had.
Yeah. So essentially this documentary, as art does, it can shift culture and shift opinion, and also perhaps bring to justice injustices. And that's what gets explored in this documentary. My thoughts on the documentary: there were ways in which this documentary was told that made it hard for me to connect with.
How so?
I wouldn't necessarily call Nan a voyeur, but kind of the way that, and again, it is her life, but there's also an art to the way that documentaries are constructed, right? We even talked about the Tiger Woods one and the pacing and the choice of elongating particular parts of it. Daddy issues.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely an art to crafting a documentary. So I'm not necessarily speaking on her life, but the way that it was structured in the documentary, it was as if what made her interesting were the things that happened around her and to people around her. If that makes sense. So not to say that that would make her art any less, but it was interesting that a lot of that interest was generated externally, not necessarily from her.
Okay, I see that.
So yeah,
so was it hard to sort of obtain that resonance?
I think so. And, it might just be a different sort of world of experiences because everyone experiences hardship, and struggles no matter what their economic sort of status is. And maybe it's just because I didn't have the Roy family experience. I had the family experience of the little kid that Rome was offering $1 million to. I was more on that side of resonance. But the reason why I say that is, the availability of care that Nan was able to get is something that, people in my life weren't able to get. And it's not to say that I don't have empathy for Nan and also what she had gone through, but there is also a consciousness of the different life experiences, And even when I talk about like Armageddon time or even like the Fablemans, it doesn't need to be the saddest, most treacherous story to those that are being treated less than human, right? It just needs to be true to your experiences. And sometimes I felt as though it was the experience of critical mass, if that makes sense.
All right.
Yeah. There's essentially two sort of components in this documentary. There's her life / artistry, and then there's also her activism, right? So Nan Golding is, she survived the opioid crisis, and she talks about that very frankly and very openly in the documentary. So there was definitely a willingness to really go there and really dig deep, which is what you would want from a documentary, to really want to explore and, take your audiences exactly where you are at every point in the journey, right? But again, OT, like I think it might just be differences of experiences, right? Not everyone is Greta Thunberg.
That's for sure.
And when we're talking about climate change, specifically for me, I'm thinking about my people in the islands and how we emit the least, but we're going to suffer the brunt and the harshest sort of consequences as a result of climate change.
Yep.
Even the droughts in Somalia, right? So it's one of those things where, like, understandably, and there should be a lot of attention talking about Ukraine, but also at the same time, no one's necessarily giving Somalia the same amount of attention. No one's necessarily looking at the Pacific Islands, understanding that this fucking weather is exactly connected to that, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason why I say that is to prime us in this exasperated, like Jennifer Lawrence Don't Look Up world of people like throwing cream at like protected, highly guarded pieces of art that don't get ruined anyway.
Wow.
No, the reason why I'm saying that is because I already have a distance on, I guess, the sanctity of Western art, right? And that's a whole protest. And then there's also protests in this documentary, and this is why I'm drawing this parallel. They were in museums around the world. I think they were at the Louvre. So essentially, because we're talking about the Sackler family, it's to bring them to account, right? And also at the same time, whether it's public knowledge, whether you know about it, whether you're in the art world, it's three families that are part of the Sackler family, but one of those families are deeply involved and have a richness and have an understanding and obviously have deep pockets for the art world. Mm-hmm. So, one of the ways that they were protesting in the documentary were having empty prescription bottles and them lying on the floor.
All right.
Sorry, the protest was at the Guggenheim, and I found it hard. Like, I'm glad that, you know, that justice was brought. Obviously, there's a lot more advocating, not just the visual sort of protests and that sort of thing. But and it might just be a personal thing. I found it hard to resonate with that.
Fair enough. Anyone would find it hard. You know, everyone has their own sort of frame of reference and their own baggage that they come in with this. So, yeah, I hear you.
You don't want to go lie in museums in Kenya?
Nah, I'm all right.
But it was very interesting. And I do wonder, for our friends and lovers that do love art, or might be a bit more embedded in the activism, I would love to, in any case, have a conversation. So hit me up in the DMs, friends and lovers. All right. Well, let's move on. A little bit of a change of tone. Perhaps a gritty DC gravel voice sort of tone. Are you ready, OT?
What was that supposed to be?
I'm the vengeance.
It's not here, mate.
Thank you to the team at Binge for giving us a screener to the first episode that's currently out already at the moment. We're very excited. I'm very excited to talk about this. Kick off your feelings, OT, and your thoughts.
Oh, always a fan of Gotham Knights. Played the game, which came out, I think, earlier this year or late last year.
Wow, you're a proper nerd.
So I was very intrigued to see where this would go. We got a young cast as expected.
Yep.
Which I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, me too.
You know, it set a tone at the start. You know, we get to see our fan faves, the Harvey Dents. Was Harvey Dent your favorite?
Well, can I give my general thoughts first? So I am not as learned as OT is in this world, that I didn't even know there was existing IP for it. I would love to hear just generally how you think it stacks up, because you watch Young Justice League and Teen Titans and that sort of thing. So we'll come to that in a second. But this is completely new to me. I don't have DC specifically fatigue. I know there's a general sort of conversation about superheroes and villains in general, but I don't have DC fatigue yet. I didn't know anything about this. It's also in the trailers, and if you've watched the first episode, it's not a spoiler that Batman is dead. I didn't know that.
That's the whole sort of point of Gotham Knights. So.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't even realize that that's not even a spoiler. Like, that's a given. You know, it's a post-Batman sort of world, right? So anyway, I was very excited. It was kind of like, I guess we'll see what this upcoming Air film is, where they say, don't worry that Michael Jordan's on it. And it's like, bruh, he's like the whole reason. But anyway, so I was wondering what it would be like without Batman in this sort of show. But I wouldn't say I was latched on instantly, but I was definitely bought in very quickly to this show.
Yeah, I think loving Gotham is very easy.
Yeah.
You know, the ambience, the dark nature, it's just easy to buy in and easy to love. And the characters, and you know the world is fully built in. So you know that whatever it is you're going to get, it's not going to be far off the mark, or it's not going to be terrible. But I went into this completely keen and eager to see what they'll do.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Me too. And also, I think it's set up very, very well what the show might be and where the characters might travel emotionally, or even from a story point of view.
Yeah, and you can see they're trying to tackle a lot of themes in there as well. So it's something that you have to give it a chance.
Yeah. And
see how it unfolds.
And, you know, there's so much sort of echoings and, you know, whisperings. Dula was very interesting. Like, I kind of love the way that she navigated. And when you find out, you know, her family, it completely makes sense. But even without it being explained to me, I'm like, ooh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I will lay down my life for Cullen Rowe. I'll just say that now. Like, I care about these kids already.
Yeah.
I'm Sam Neill, and these kids are Julian Dennison, and we're in Hunt for the Wilder People.
Oh.
I'm very excited. I don't know about Bruce Wayne's son, though. What do you think? Or is it just because he's rich that I'm finding it hard to connect with him?
He was the one that comes in with a lot of, privilege, so to speak.
Yeah, because you told me he's an orphan, but he's got the air of money.
It's been ingrained in him since he was a baby.
Yeah, I guess. He's like the Anastasia of this world.
Facts.
Yeah. Rasputin.
Oh, not Bartox?
Yeah, I suppose. One of the kids look like Mark Cuban.
Jesus.
Deny it then.
Nah, I'm not going to say anything about that.
And the other note I have is hackers have changed looks over the years.
Oh, man. I think once we saw 50 Cent as a hacker, anything is plausible.
Okay. Okay. All right. I guess I wrote down a couple of quotes, but I kind of want, if you haven't watched it, to go and watch it. I think, mood-wise, absolutely what you're saying. It's easy to fall in love with Gotham. And character-wise, I am very excited to see how things are going to shake out. We had to get to the point of the premise, but once we got to the point of the premise, I'm very excited to see where it continues.
Mm-hmm.
Well, extending your DC media correspondent pass, thank you to Binge for giving us access to the third season, the first 2 episodes of Superman and Lois. And who better than the fanboy who's been following along the show in the first 2 seasons? May I get your thoughts, sir?
Having grown up watching Lois and Clark, I was really excited when Superman and Lois aired, because I was like, oh man, I'm ready to relive my childhood.
Cute.
Well, did you not watch it? Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher.
Oh, redacted. Not Terry Hatcher.
But I was eager, man. And I think season 1, they introduced some interesting villains and characters, and I was just amazed.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the show to be, you'd usually feel like the CW sort of trail of thought would get in its own way.
Uh-huh.
But it felt fresh.
Okay.
It felt fresh. I was buying Tyler's as Superman.
Okay.
It worked. I gotta say though, the kids.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because we pretty much always try the first episode of a new show once. Usually that's where I get off the wagon, but we at least try the first episode of a new show once, and then we decide whose show it's going to be. Usually you love to watch everything, so you'll continue to watch it. But that's essentially what I was going to say. I remember the kids being annoying, and I was going to ask you, in this season 3, are they still as annoying?
Surprisingly not.
Okay. That's cool. That's great.
They're adding some emotional depth that I didn't think they'd be able to.
Okay. All right.
They're adding some. I was like, oh, I'm getting shocked here.
Okay. So you're friends with the boyfriend that Angel's ex-girlfriend went with in Nope. That's a deep cut, friends and lovers. But that was some unexpected funny dialogue about the CW in Nope.
Yeah.
Just stealing everyone's girlfriends, I guess, friends and lovers.
But it's wild, because you usually think, because I was like, oh, are we not going to get to see Lex Luthor? Oh, is Lex Luthor going to be in season 2? Are we going to see Lex Luthor in season 3? Like, they built it up so nicely. Like, we got people like Bizarro, Parasite, and all that. And what can I say?
May I be ignorant? I remember you watching a super mega crossover show event. Is this in the same world or it's separate?
I don't know. They've sort of moved away from Arrowverse.
Oh.
Then again, I stopped watching Arrow finished, so I sort of fell off that, and I don't really watch Flash anymore. I remember Legends of Tomorrow. Like I was living my best life.
Hey, baby, it's your world. I'm just living in it.
Clearly.
Well, I'm glad you're having a good time. I'm glad that you're enjoying Superman and Lois. I'm glad that we can enjoy Gotham Knights together. I think this is what they call a hat trick, OT. I think this is what they call a hat trick, OT.
Oh.
Rounding off our DC hat trick for this Ref Max, we are covering Shazam, The Fury of the Gods. But also, leading up to, we also watched the first Shazam. Thank you to Universal as well as DC for inviting us to the preview screening.
I remember watching the first one when it came out, and
I thought that was your official review. I remember watching this.
I was like,
confirm.
Yeah, I was like, all right. I love Zach Levi, you know, Chuck fans out there.
Can it stretch this far though?
He's using those mileage. He's redeemed a lot of those already. But Shazam too, man. What can I say? Like, I understand what it is. You know, it's very hard for it to be anything serious when it's a bunch of kids.
Who knew a CW show would get your heartstrings and a theatrical release would not do it for you? But there you go.
I don't know, man. Like, there's something about the dialogue of adult people talking as kids that doesn't vibe with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, it just feels wrong. And I'm like, bro, snap out of it.
Like, what are we doing here?
Everything else is grown up apart from your fucking minds.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about it. Is there any other general thoughts to the first Shazam, though?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Okay.
After watching the second one.
Can confirm I watched the movie. Official review from OT.
It was a movie. It had a runtime of 2 hours and a few minutes.
Yeah. Well, granted, I've never read the comics. I didn't even know Shazam was an actual character in the ethos of the world. Shazam, watching the first one, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. That's not a dig. That's just branding and marketing being very efficient and effective, right? But I knew that film wasn't necessarily for me. Going to the Shazam Fury of the Gods screener, it was very clear there is an audience and the audience was there. There was a lady that was having a jolly old time there. She was having a really good time. And, you know, I'm not going to yuck people's yum. I'm not going to shit on things that people love, right? So there's a part of me that acknowledges that I don't necessarily like the connotation of like, this wasn't for me, because that indicates that I guess a lesser sort of pen is okay as long as it speaks to specific sort of experiences. But again, we're talking about like highly consumable, like mainstream stuff. So maybe I don't need to go so hard. But essentially what I'm saying is there needs to be some level of like resonance. Like Wakanda Forever was one of my favorite films last year, and it is one of the biggest sort of IPs out at the moment. So it is possible for me to find resonance in mainstream, you know, high appeal, you know, massive box office success sort of, you know, stories, right? So it's exactly what you're saying, because the first one was the first one. That's my official review. But the second one did less than the first, right? Or maybe undid what the first did. And I guess what I'm saying is the kids were more mature than Zach Levi as Shazam. Like, that didn't make any sense at all.
Actually, I thought
because Billy Batson, when he grows up, like obviously it's been a couple of years since the first film, he's already mature. So how then when he turns into an older superhero version, he's less mature?
No, they do a lot of interesting stuff with Billy in this, and I think that sort of works more than it did in the first one.
I'm talking about Billy, not like grown-up Billy Shazam.
No, I'm saying Billy. You know, it's where the Freddies started coming in and there was more focus on Freddies. You know, I was like, come on now, bro. You're losing me.
Yeah.
You're losing me.
But but I guess you know who the characters are. I don't necessarily, I think those are my general sort of feelings about the film. I can understand why people would enjoy this film. I just didn't necessarily land on the same love cloud, I guess, friends and lovers. What I would say it's very egregious that we went through, well, I've never watched the first one, without even knowing that Megan Good was in the film.
Yeah.
Unless she's not pushing it to the community. I don't know. But I just think it's wild that I never knew she was in the film.
It was a good surprise, though, when we watched the first one.
What did you... Let's talk a bit about the expanding sort of cast. We have your lady love, Lucy Liu.
Yeah, we get to see Lucy Liu, Helen Mirren. It can't go wrong with Lucy Liu. So, you know, she did what she had
Elementary.
to do. She did what she had to do. Nah, Elementary was good.
You were channeling keep her name out your fucking mouth energy. You just didn't have the goal to say it.
Nah, Elementary was sufficiently watchable. The only issue was people are comparing it to Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock, which wasn't fair.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But again, like I never continued Elementary, but it was nice to see Lucy Liu.
Oh, 100%. Always a good time.
Is this a safe space, OT?
It is.
Is Helen Mirren like De Niro now?
Yeah. Sir Patrick Stewart.
Oh, I don't think...
He's been doing roles and I'm like, bro, what is it?
I'm glad that you pick up
what I was... Is your agent putting your number in yellow pages or what?
I'm glad that you picked up what I was putting down because I was being very delicate with what I was saying, but you absolutely opened the door and stormed in.
I see her doing a lot of stuff now.
She's in Fast franchise too, isn't she?
Yeah, she's joining the family. Fast 10. I'm excited about that.
Okay.
Are you not?
I remember it was a film.
Are you not a fast head?
I don't think that's what that means. I would say if we're talking about like performances that we really enjoyed, Adam Brody.
He just, I don't know. Maybe it's the OC person in me, man.
Okay.
I see Adam Brody and I feel like I'm in my teens.
It ain't easy being white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, me living in Orange County and all that.
Is this a safe space as well?
Yeah, it is.
Were there black characters in OC?
Bro, back then it was very hard to see black people, so you took what you get. As far as I was concerned, Adam Brody was black, so...
He's that tall, dark, and handsome, isn't he?
You know, Ben McKenzie even more so. So,
you know, you're fighting your own battle, OT.
I am.
And I respect the journey. I respect the journey. Absolutely. Wow. I didn't even realize we had, you know, back to back DC viewing sort of experiences. So that was fun. Are you ready to get into a crime drama?
A crime drama?
From across the pond?
Oh, so going to get in a quandary?
In a quarry?
Ooh.
Or a Daryl Linder quarrel?
What is it?
Better.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is BAFTA-nominated Layla Fazard, who is our main character. We have Andrew Buchan. And this show, so I guess without spoiling it, and I guess to tantalize you friends and lovers, this is a crime drama that is centering Layla Fazard's character of D.I. Slack. And, you know, there's some interconnected murmurings within the department. Perhaps, maybe not to the level of The Shield, maybe to the level of being a bed copper in Line of Duty. but there's definitely some unsavory sort of dealings that are happening in this show. So I had the opportunity to watch the first episode, and I guess this is on me. I should have continued to watch, and I will continue to watch. So please report in our DMs, friends and lovers. It's a show that I watched, if I would like to reference you.
Wow.
It's not bad, but it really very much feels like even before Line of Duty, we were getting a lot of UK crime, bent copper, floating up the lagging in a bobbin.
Yeah, I've been hearing stuff about Happy Valley as well. It's got a big following. It's sort of pretty much in a similar ilk.
But isn't there also another one recently from Mickey Briggs?
Yeah, we love a good Mickey Briggs show.
There was also the one in the submarine as well. There was one in the oil rig. And we've watched all of these. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of, even specifically UK thriller, crime dramas that have been coming out recently. And none of them are bad. And maybe it's just because of the frequency, and maybe it's because of the level of production and quality. It's hard to break through of all of that noise.
I hear you.
I'm finding it hard to latch on to the protagonist Slack. It's very interesting, and I won't go into a lot of detail, but what I will say is the dynamics are shifted. So say for example, if you're watching The Wire, McNulty is the one out there being, I wouldn't call him a bent copper, but you have McNulty out there doing what he needs to do, right? And then you've got his wife at home, or even Criminal Minds, you've got Hotch and the wife at home. But in this instance, you have Slack that's out there and the husband is at home. Yeah. So there are some interesting sort of moments where I feel like gender is played into a lot. The husband is like, where are you going at night? And it's bruh. Irregardless of her gender, she's a DI, so she be out there in those streets. You know what I mean? It's just weird to put her in an apron and tell her to bake cookies after that. So there are moments that I'm a bit bruh, what are we doing? But yeah, I'll definitely continue. And perhaps you can watch the first episode and we can continue together, because maybe you've got that sort of particular perspective that we need to bring into our viewing.
Yeah, I'll be good to give it a go, and I'm sure we'll be Slack's biggest fans.
On the Slack,
wearing slacks, cuffed slacks.
Wow, you are a man of words, my love. Oh, speaking of man, a play, a production, most importantly, the woman, Lolita. Thank you so much to Kate and the team at Nixco, as well as Shamil Films. We are finishing off this tantalizing, muy caliente, Ref Max, talking about National Theatre Live in the West End in London, the play production, Life of Pi. So this was an early screening, and we were able to obtain a screener. It is out in Australian cinemas March 31st. So this in succession are the early ones that currently haven't come out yet. Written by Jan Martel, adapted by Lolita Chakrabarti, and directed by award-winning theatre director Max Webster. And in regards to the lead, wow. My whole heart, OT. Hiran Abasakera. Well, kick us off, OT.
If I was told that I have the opportunity to fly to London to go watch this live, I'll jump on that plane without second question.
Wow.
It was that good. The production value is off the innovative nature of this production. You can tell they've put a lot of thought into everything.
Olivier award-winning stage adaptation.
The set just blows your mind.
Yeah.
The sound design, just every little thing, the minutest of things, you've got puppeteers and oh my God, like I can't even describe what I felt watching this. We got the screener and I feel like I had to watch it a second time.
Yeah.
I need to watch it a second time.
Yeah.
And probably even a third.
Yes.
We all know Life of Pi and how the story unfolds. But for those of you who don't know, I won't spoil anything. All I have to say is how Lolita adapted this is one of the best things theatrical release we've seen of anything.
Yes.
Hands down. It's the best thing I've watched this year.
Whoa.
And I'd even say last year as well.
Wow.
It was that good. The performances were off the charts.
Okay.
I'm stepping in it right now. I'm putting my reputation on this.
Yeah, and I am happy to live in this sound production. This is delightful.
No, but seriously, it's coming out on the 31st. For those of you in Sydney, it'll be in Dendy's. Mm-hmm. Get yourself there and experience the marvelous joy of what this version of Life of Pi is all about. You will not be disappointed. Not one bit.
Wow. How am I even supposed to follow that, OT?
No qualms, quarrels, and quandaries?
No. So I guess even, because you even referenced the film, I am so glad that, and I'm so happy that we were given access to watch this, taping of this stage adaptation, because, and OT, if you're down, I would like to watch the film Life of Pi again after I've read the book, because in the film, I didn't necessarily feel like it offered anything in way of deep, lasting resonance. Mm-hmm. Like there were a couple of things that were perhaps touched on in the film that I found interesting. I guess that's why it was a bit frustrating to me that it was only touched on and not necessarily explored. And that was magnified and dutifully delivered on this stage.
I remember hearing about the book back in the day, and I remember watching the movie. I don't know. I thought it was good. I watched Life of Pi, and I never really thought about it much afterwards.
Yeah.
But what this play does, I don't know. Maybe it was Heron's performance.
Yes!
Because he brings everything.
Yes! Every second of watching this, I was just internally yelling, theater! This is theater!
You can't look away from him.
No.
You cannot look away from him.
And nor would you want to.
No. The cast, just, I don't know. I don't know what to say other than get your bloody asses into the cinema and watch this, because wow.
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 And that's analysis for you.
In way of live play adaptations, we haven't watched as many as we would have liked, but we watched the Book of Mormon play when it was in Melbourne. And that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to experience the Book of Mormon. It was a play, and that's not a bad thing, but it was a play. And we most recently saw the Dutch production adaptation of the New York bestseller Hanya Yangahara's book, A Little Life. And that was also a play.
One of the best books out there as well.
One of the best books, friends and lovers, for your bookends. We're going to start a book club. But anything that I thought was encapsulated in a stage production was absolutely challenged and shattered and beautifully delivered to my heart chambers in watching this live adaptation. I don't think we can express any more than we already have in how much we absolutely loved this play and this stage production. The puppetry was absolutely great. I wasn't sure how I would be able to suspend my being able to look at the puppet and not the actual human that's operating it. I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do that. Very, very, very quickly, I would say instantly, Hiran has a way of just drawing you in, bringing you into, I guess, for lack of better words, and if you'll pardon the pun, the life of Pi. And I was fully immersed into this world. The way that the themes of religion and the necessity and the assured continuance and the reassurance that religion brings was so masterfully crafted in this adaptation that it can make anyone believe.
You touched on something, how am I going to disassociate what I've seen? Because I feel like they've spoiled me now.
Yeah.
I'd expect such set designs everywhere now.
Yeah.
And that's just not fair.
Yeah. I paid $5 for this school production.
Come on now.
It's shit. Or you'll be doing the Kurt Angle, you suck.
Yeah. The heckle at the back.
Wow. And, but there's a part of me that's excited to explore more, to go and watch more plays. But it's absolutely what you're talking about. The way the set was designed, and, it was so much more expansive than the film. And I know by mentioning the film, we're taking attention away from the play. But if anything, it's just to bolster the quality. Because a film, by all sort of notions, has the ability to stretch and morph and is mobile, right? A play is more stationary and it's limited within a particular sort of space. But the innovation partnered with the puppetry, underscored by the sound design, even when they were doing the rain, there was no rain there, but I believed it.
Yeah.
Based on the visuals, based on the sound design. Wow. I guess we're moving to London. We
are indeed. We can just camp in Film Busters' homes.
Yes. Paul, Ben, and Adam?
Mm-hmm.
We'll get shared custody, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any closing thoughts, OT?
I may speak in absolutes a lot of the time, but when it comes to this play, it's something that you'll definitely not be disappointed.
Yep.
And just amount of work and effort you can see that's been put through, it oozes off their pores and you can see it. You can feel it. You can smell it.
Oh my. And I can taste it. No one wants to come to our theatre, OT.
I don't know. After that, I'm pretty sure we'll have a line out there.
Wow. Exactly what OT's saying. Do yourself a favor, friends and lovers, and go and check out this production. Life of Pi is also on Broadway right now.
Yeah.
It's exciting, and I'm very excited. And apparently we're going to have a book club too.
We are indeed.
Ooh. Can I get a yee-haw?
Yoo-hoo!
Okay, from around the way. Very nice. Thank you so much for joining us on our biggest Ref Max so far. We've covered 7, a combination of films, of TV shows, even sort of preview episodes and screenings. It's been very exciting. If you want to continue, if you want to love on us, Life of Pi style or otherwise, maybe not the dad.
Oh.
Yikes. On Twitter and Instagram, we're at @ForYourRefPod.
Write us an email at hello@forpodcast.com.
We're also on Theatre. This is Theatre podcast. If you'd like to leave a rating and review, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
For John Wick.
Woo-hoo.